Hi everyone and welcome to another Better Mankind video. Well, today I am taking the Mandela Effect to the streets of Melbourne and getting people to fill out a little quiz that has various Mandela Effect questions on there, and the purpose of the video is to see whether people just have bad memories or is there something to this phenomenon. Now, in order to not scare people away, I've decided to employ the services of the lovely Miranda here, who I'm sure people will be a lot more receptive to her than myself, and she'll get a lot more people to fill out the quiz. Now, just quickly, Miranda, you've already completed the quiz and we'll show your results at the end of the video, but did you find it surprising with some of the answers that you got? Definitely found it very surprising. And would you say that after doing the quiz that you're more of a believer now than when you first started? 100%, yeah. Okay, well let's see what the people out on the street have to say. So here are the questions we'll be asking people to answer. There are two choices to choose from. One will be of what I and many other people consider to be from the old reality, and the other is of the current reality. Please note that during the creation of this list I made a slight mistake and wrote down the same answer for question 1, but we manually corrected this on all of the forms that people filled out. Now, rather than show you the answers, I would like you to complete this test for yourself. So in the description of this video I have included a link to the quiz, and I would be very interested to see which answers you choose. So please stop the video for now and come back once you have completed the quiz. Now that you're back, I would like to point out that while putting the quiz together, I noticed that the Mandela effect regarding Buffy Vampire Slayer has now somehow changed back to its original name, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What's even more weird is that I distinctly remember looking it up on Google at the time and it came up as Buffy Vampire Slayer. There were even a bunch of videos on this particular Mandela effect that no longer seem to exist when I now search for them in YouTube. The only thing I was able to find was another Mandela Effect quiz that made reference to this particular TV series. I will leave a link to the quiz in the description of the video, and if you happen to remember this particular change, please let me know in the comments. Our first willing participant was Megan, with a little help from her partner. They were quite surprised with how many of the questions they got wrong and had never heard of the Mandela Effect until now. How many did you get right?
All of them are wrong, probably.
We got all of them wrong.
Yeah.
Here are Megan and her partner's results. According to the current reality, they were only able to get 2 questions right. This next gentleman was a little reluctant to begin with, but Miranda managed to convince him to take the quiz. He also didn't want to leave his name, but we thank him for his time and respect his privacy. Here are the results of his test. He wasn't all too sure about some of the questions, so we asked him to just skip those ones and fill out the ones he knows. All up, he missed 5 questions in total and only managed to answer 2 of the questions correctly. Our next 2 contestants were Tilda and Vera, who decided to take our quiz without having any knowledge about the Mandela effect. As far as they were concerned, this was nothing more than a simple memory test. The real current answers.
Yeah, definitely. Doesn't feel we have like all the wrong answers.
Are you surprised?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually. No, really. I thought it was that one.
This one I know though.
You can clearly see that they were very surprised by the magic mirror on the wall and the ET home phone answers. Also, Tilda wasn't really sure about the Ford logo, so she just took a lucky guess. Despite their surprise, they only managed to get 6 out of the 13 questions right. Next up, we have Phoebe and Jess, who are very excited about taking the test, mainly because they thought the questions were quite easy and lacked any sort of challenge for them. Let's see if this was the case.
What? Oh, we were wrong. We said mirror, mirror on the wall.
Oh, was that? Yeah.
Yeah. Buffy.
Vampire Slayer. Sex
we
and the City,
are
we got
wrong.
that right. Interview with the we got that wrong. We got
yes.
that wrong.
What? He has a gun?
Out of all the people we quizzed on the day, these 2 lovely ladies were by far the most confident while taking the test. But as you can see from their results, they only managed to get a lousy 2 out of 13 questions right. Had they done the same test in the previous reality, their confidence would have been warranted. Next we have Tiffany, who was confused about some of the questions due to poor memory, so we told her to just do her best and take a stab in the dark. I was sort of counting on the subconscious part of her brain to kick in and take over. But as we can see from her results, her memory would have been just fine if she wasn't living in the current timeline. Furthermore, the two questions she was most unsure of, which were Interview with a Vampire and the Ford logo, she managed to guess correctly. Even so, her total score was a whopping 3 out of 13. Annie and Beth were both on holidays from Canada, enjoying themselves until we came along and started messing with their heads. They seemed very confident while doing the test and put in a good team effort. Unfortunately, that confidence was short-lived once they saw their answers and realised that all is not as it seems. They were so convinced they were right, one of the girls even thought the answers marked in red were the correct ones.
Whoa. You're all wrong. No, the red means we're right.
Nope, the green are the right ones. By the end of this experience, I'm sure they left a little dazed and confused and only managed to get 2 of the questions right. Next up we have Eliza, who really didn't know what to expect but found the concept of doing a quick memory test too intriguing to pass up. Now please keep in mind that this time around we corrected the Forrest Gump question on the left side, just in case you get confused when we show you the answers. Eliza went through the questions like a champ, confidently answering every one of them without a hint of doubt. But as you can see from Eliza's answers, she is clearly still residing in the previous reality. She manages to get a disturbing 1 out of 13. That's our lowest score so far. Judging by her facial expression, our next contestant Louise didn't feel too confident about doing a memory test. I guess no one really likes being put on the spot so that thousands of people can potentially see how bad your memory might be. Nevertheless, she meticulously went through the questions, and despite her initial reluctance, she actually did pretty well with a score of 4 out of 13. Our final participant for this interesting experiment is Matt. Once again, like most of the others, he filled out the quiz with confidence, only to be surprised with the actual answers. Have a listen to some of his reactions. Possible.
Well, I thought life is like a
Yeah,
box
so
of chocolate.
does
That
everyone
shocked
else.
me. Magic mirror on the wall, I didn't know that. I thought it was the other one with the vampire. I thought it was with a vampire. E.T. home phone. That doesn't make sense.
No, Matt, it certainly doesn't. But whether we like it or not, there is definitely something very weird going on with the world that we live in. For the record, Matt's final score was 2 out of 13. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I had Miranda, my co-host for the day, also do the quiz, so let's have a quick look at her results and see if she fared any better than the other participants. Miranda managed to get 3 out of 13 right, but mentioned that she really wasn't all that sure about the JFK assassination question, so she took a wild stab in the dark. I would now like to give you some analytics and have a closer look at the answers people gave. I'm aware that having only 11 people complete this quiz doesn't confirm the Mandela effect, so for this reason I've put together the very same quiz online to see how you, the viewer, answer these questions. I've decided that if I get 50,000 people completing the quiz, I will do a video and show you the results. The link to this quiz can be found in the description section below. For the Forrest Gump question, we had a very convincing 10 out of 11 people choose life is like a box of chocolates as the right answer. Many of you have stated in my previous video that the reason he is saying life was like a box of chocolates is because by this point in the movie his mother has already passed away and he is reflecting. But let's say for one moment that this is the case. Saying life was like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get, sounds rather weird considering he's still eating the chocolates. Also, how is it that you never know what you're going to get when the very word was implies past tense and that the box of chocolates have already been eaten? This would mean that you would know what you're going to get. The mirror mirror on the wall answer was chosen by a unanimous 11 people out of 11 tests. Every one of these people had never heard of the line magic mirror on the wall until they took this quiz. Now, as I mentioned in the earlier part of this video, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was the original title of the show, but then it changed to Buffy Vampire Slayer. I clearly remember researching this, but it seems like the evidence to corroborate this claim is all but gone. Back and forth Mandela effect shifts have been happening quite a bit lately, and this in itself is very strange. Nevertheless, if we were to go by the recent Mandela effect version Buffy Vampire Slayer, then 10 out of 11 people answered wrong by choosing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now the next question generated the most interesting result. This show is known by millions of people around the world, and although it is called Sex and the City, I have always known it as Sex in the City. 9 out of 11 people answered Sex and the City, which is the right answer in this current reality. I have also taken the liberty to ask a number of other people about the title of this show, and many of them were convinced that it's Sex and the City. Before you make up your mind, I suggest you watch a snippet of a video put together by a YouTuber called Think On Your Own, and then try to convince yourself that nothing weird is going on here. By the way, I highly recommend you watch some of his other Mandela Effect videos.
Nominees for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series are
Kim Cattrall, Sex and the City. Kristen Davis, Sex and the City. Megan Mullally, Will and Grace. Cynthia Nixon, Sex and the City, of course.
Sarah Jessica Parker, Sex and the City.
Sarah Jessica Parker has received 10 Emmy nominations for her work on Sex and the City as an actress and a producer.
Now I'm not going to play you the entire video, but I think you get the picture. If you still think that this doesn't prove a thing, I suggest you watch a video by a YouTuber called The Whole World's Watching, which shows actual Sex in the City merchandise. I will leave the link to this video in the description below. For the movie Interview with a Vampire, 9 out of 11 people answered Interview with a Vampire. Please note that 2 of the people didn't even answer this question because they had never seen the movie at all. So I would count this result as being in favour of a Mandela effect. If you would like even more proof on this, I encourage you to watch a video by YouTuber Easty Beastie that shows various people in Hollywood, including the woman who wrote the script, clearly pronouncing the title as Interview with a Vampire. I will leave a link to the video in the description below. One of the most controversial Mandela effects would have to be that of the JFK assassination. We asked people if they remember 4 or 6 people in the assassination car. On my very first Mandela Effect video, I posted a short survey which asked this very question. Out of 882 submissions, 742 people answered 4 passengers were in the car. That means that 84.1% of those submissions are from people that remember the previous timeline, or maybe they all just have very bad memory. During our test on the streets, we had 7 out of 11 people answer 4 passengers in the car. The next question was regarding one of my favourite childhood movies, The Wizard of Oz. This Mandela effect has literally everybody stumped. Not one single person I have ever spoken to remembers the Scarecrow waving around a gun. A unanimous 11 out of 11 people answered no, they don't remember the Scarecrow having a gun. Moving on, we have a very interesting spelling Mandela effect. Now let's face it, when it comes to spelling, most of us are pretty ordinary at it, but there are certain words that tend to stick with you your entire life for the very reason that they were spelt in a weird way. The word dilemma was one of those words that as a child I would constantly get told off for because I kept forgetting to add the silent N. My teacher would always tell me to think of the word as being pronounced dilemna so that I wouldn't forget how to spell it. So I decided to do a search on YouTube and type the word dilemma with a silent N. There were a number of videos displaying the word dilemma spelt the way I remember it. Now you can argue that all of these people are just bad spellers and need to go back to school. But when you see a video on CNN's YouTube channel spelt with a silent N, this to me is an absolute game changer. CNN, being a news broadcasting service, would have a multitude of people checking the spelling of a video title before posting it on YouTube. This is why I was truly dumbfounded when only one of the people that took the quiz chose to spell dilemma as I remember it. On to another spelling mystery, the word liquefy is now spelt liquefy. Now to avoid confusion, I will be pronouncing the new version of liquefy as liquefy. At least this way you'll know which word I'm referring to. Once again, I did a YouTube search to see what comes up when I spell it the old way. Lo and behold, the guys from Adobe Photoshop all seem to be living in the old reality. The liquefy tool in Photoshop is spelt the way I remember it. So then I decided to look up the word liquefy on dictionary.com. As you can see, plain as day, the word supposedly exists. It tells me that liquefy is another version of liquefy. Then the page goes on to give me some examples of how the word liquefy can be used in a sentence. Now, if that is the case and the word liquefy exists, why is it that when I type it in a word editor, it tells me I've spelt it wrong? Or when I type it in Google search, it comes up with liquefy? But hang on, Google also tells me that liquefy, spelt the original way, is a verb. So what then is liquefy? It definitely can't be a noun when the very word liquefy is an action, which would make it a verb. But what if this strange spelling of the word liquefy was a new addition to the English language? Well, I thought this might be the case, so I decided to purchase an old Oxford dictionary from the 1950s. Surely this will have the version of liquefy we are all familiar with. Well, according to this very old dictionary, liquefy has always been spelt with EFY at the end. Unfortunately for many others, myself included, this is not the case according to the previous reality we all remember. Just for the record, 11 out of 11 people chose the word liquefy with IFY at the end as the right spelling of the word. The next question was regarding the movie E.T. and the famous line, "E.T. phone home." However, according to the new version, it is now E.T. home phone. Let's have a quick listen.
E.T. home phone.
As a 12-year-old kid, this was one of my favourite movies from the 80s, and the line "E.T. home phone" was not the line that I and many others remember. This is a famous iconic scene where E.T. points to the sky and says "E.T. phone home." At no point in the movie does he say "E.T. home phone." Later on in this scene, he does say it the right way, so why then was the first part "E.T. home phone"? 10 out of 11 people answered "E.T. phone home" and one person had never seen the movie. This next one really made my head spin. Anyone watching this video that doesn't remember Tom Cruise wearing sunglasses while performing the risky business dance is either a hardcore skeptic or you were never part of the original timeline to begin with. Yet, when you now play the very same scene, Tom Cruise is no longer wearing sunglasses. Watching this scene looks so strange to me that it borders on surreal. Once again, you might be thinking, I just have poor memory and I've basically lost my grip on reality. But if Tom Cruise doesn't wear sunglasses in this scene, why is it that almost every single parody ever done of this scene has actors wearing sunglasses? Here we have Homer Simpson doing his rendition of the scene. Here we have some ordinary people performing the same scene. For those of you old enough to remember, check out Alf strutting his stuff. And of course this list would not be complete without the famous scene by Niles from the hit TV show The Nanny. One thing all these parodies have in common is that the people in the clips are wearing sunglasses. It was no surprise that 9 out of 11 people remembered Tom Cruise wearing sunglasses in this scene, and this to me is a definite Mandela effect. If you're into the music of the 90s like many people, you remember the Barbie Girl song by Aqua. Now, even though many of us felt that the song was rather cheesy and lacking in musical talent, it is very rare that you find someone that doesn't remember the hook line. It clearly said, "I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world," and now it's "I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world." Now, in order to avoid a copyright infringement, I won't play you the song on this video, but feel free to look it up on YouTube and hear it for yourself. For the record, 10 out of 11 people remember "in a Barbie world," not "in the Barbie world," and one of those people didn't know the song at all. The final question was regarding the Ford logo change, which I recently did a video on, and you can find this on my channel. I found it interesting that the only people that chose the current logo as being genuine were females. Without sounding in any way politically incorrect, I believe that the only reason females tend to choose the current logo is because of that dainty looking squiggle, which in my opinion gives the logo a more feminine look. Overall, 8 out of 11 people chose the old logo as being genuine. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like my content, please give me the thumbs up and subscribe. I also encourage you to follow the link below and complete the quiz for yourself. I would be very interested to see the answers you choose. Until my next video, take care, and above all, be good to each other.